Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies, inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management. Yes, get your stuff to the cloud. But you know what doesn't really translate on the cloud? A printed bracket. And let me tell you, Kyocera is going to print out the finest office brackets you've ever seen, because it's officially bracket season. So head on over to copiers-plus.com. Apparently, I did not realize it was Duke's gonna kill you season in the ACC. Duke on senior night for Cooper Flagg and the crew absolutely destroyed Wake Forest, but this is what they've been doing as of late. From our friend Matt Norlander at CBS. Blue Devils have won 10 ACC games by 25 plus points, a school record. They've won 6 straight by 15 plus points, a school record, and they've won 4 straight by 33 plus points, a school record. And this is a Rorschach test. You either look at what Duke is doing heading into the last game of the season against Carolina. Carolina's got a game tonight, which we'll talk about in a second. You can look at what Duke is doing and go, yeah, man, the machine has activated. Here it is. They are in form heading into the most important time of the year. This is what John Shire's been building towards. Or you're going, man, the ACC is so terrible. You're really not getting a good idea of just how good this Duke team is. Now, mind you, Illinois is in there too. They crushed Illinois. Illinois was sick. I know that's the excuse, the tournament, but that's neither here nor there. So we're in the what does it all mean for Duke moment right now, as they are absolutely destroying teams while also understanding and being realistic about the current state of the ACC.
Look, Duke is getting better as the year goes along. Mm-hmm. That is the sign of good coaching. Duke is playing at their best at the right time, okay? They're taking care of their business. These are all good things for Duke.
Yeah.
Duke is doing what Duke can do. And they get Tyrese Proctor back last night, which kind of was surprising to me.
I was surprised by that, too.
I don't think they need him clearly to win these games.
But if he's healthy, he's healthy. If he's 100%, let him go.
But you put him out there because, as I've said before, I feel like he is the key to them winning the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Duke, you're taking care of business. You can't worry about what the rest of the ACC looks like. You're doing what you have to do. You're absolutely, as I mentioned, you're outperforming Vegas at this point because they were a 21-point favorite last night and they covered with ease.
I know.
So I've told you before, you're not a true monster until you outperform Vegas. Well, they're outperforming Vegas now. The real conundrum for Duke is, can you have you'll have this amazing regular season. If they go to Charlotte and decide that they want to win in Charlotte, they will. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, then that's fine. There hasn't been a national champion who's won the ACC championship since I don't even know what year. I think it was one of the Duke teams back in maybe in 2001. I don't even remember.
It's been a
right. Like it's not a thing. It's not a prerequisite to win the national championship.
No.
And that's kind of the conundrum for Duke right now. Is like you're having this amazing success, and this is what from what I'm understanding, this is what Carolina fans want. You want this regular season consistency. You want to be not only a number 1 seed, but you want to get into the Final Four. And now here's the question for Duke. Is this season a success without a national championship?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I
would say yes, because if we're sitting here doing all this hand-wringing over Kansas and Carolina and Kentucky the year before, how does this not matter? You know what I'm saying?
By the way, Duke 2010 was the last ACC champ to go on to win
to win the tournament and then win the national championship.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that too. I was actually thinking about 2010 this morning because remember, I posited, is Duke a monster? Well, yes, Duke is a monster. But hey, Joe, do the national titles count any different if you're a monster or not? Because they were very clearly not a monster in 2010.
I mean, last time I checked, that banner's up there equal with all the other ones.
And yet.
It
Counts the same. So it's just this weird position that Duke has put themselves uniquely in because Kansas can't do it, Carolina can't do it, and Kentucky can't do it. Mm-hmm. And yet here they are. And now we're asking ourselves existentially, like, what matters? What really matters?
Well, I think for Duke, the answer is very easy. It's the expectation that Mike Krzyzewski set at the midpoint of his career and going forward. And I think they're trying to extend it with John Shire. They want to win a championship.
And wow, was last night an homage to K.
It really was, right? You called it yesterday.
Like,
you called it yesterday.
Who are you about?
Hey, Wake Forest.
You're like,
help?
Let's be healthy.
Do you need help? Tyrese Proctor, we're still going to play you. You played 24 minutes last night. Don't care. We're going to put the hammer on you. But even they might have done that without Tyrese Proctor. That's the funny thing about where Duke is at right now.
I love that they understood the assignment, though, Joe.
And that's why you asked about the expectation.
You got to play the mind game of, well, what is our motivation tonight? Well, this is the last time Cooper Flagg's going to play in Cameron.
Is it, though?
Cool.
They were chanting one more year last night. They were chanting one more year last night.
And that was a good chant.
And he looked at John Shire on the bench, and he started to run it back, maybe. And this is my jokey way of saying, no, the expectations for this Duke team this year are very crystal clear. Win the championship. That's why it's remember, I'm trying to find
But does it have to be a zero-sum game is what I'm getting at.
With Cooper Flagg this year? Yes. This is what you've been building towards. This is why you did what you did. Why you made the moves that you made. Why last year was almost like a transitionary learning experience of what do we need to build around this guy?
What a basement.
Right? Isn't that an incredible basement for Duke? That tells you something, right? But no, this is the year, because we're not talking about Duke next year. There's no guy I'm not saying that John Shire doesn't have recruits coming down the line. Right. He does. But that's not what this year with that dude is about. That's why they're not absolutely murdering ACC teams down the stretch. And that's why I think it's kind of funny that there's this, Duke is running hot. They're destroying everybody. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Carolina on Saturday, because that would be the most funniest thing to happen, wouldn't it? I don't see that happening. The way Duke's playing and the way Carolina's gotten to their 5-game win streak, which I think will continue into a 6-game win streak with a game tonight against Virginia Tech, it's not the same. You and me, we ain't the same. Duke's looking at Carolina going, oh, that's cute that you've got this win streak going on, and you've looked pretty good, right? But what exactly have you done? How do you look? And that's why I think if they're locked in the way you say they're locked in, Duke, then why would you expect anything less in Chapel Hill on Saturday?
How about we just take the tax money and bet on the first half of the Duke Carolina game? How about that? Can I talk you into a first half bet?
Depends on how much money.
919 444 2211. Call the OG Sports Phone and curse or don't.
Of course, the sports phone is brought to you by Nature's Relief. Go check them out, naturesreliefhempstore.com.
Hey, Joe's.
On Thursday.
Yeah, we'll be there.
At Nature's Relief in Garner on Timber Drive.
Hey, Joe's. This is Jake, the Duke fan, or crazy talker. Wanted to talk about the weight game real quick. First of all, pleased to see Tyrese Proctor healthy-ish and back in the starting lineup for what will probably be his last game in Cameron, especially if things go well in March. But I also wanted to comment about Wake and get some Big Four love. I've rarely had a bigger gulf between the dislike I have for the team and the appreciation and respect I have for the coach. I just really like Steve Ford's personality. And I know he's a guest on the show. But this Wake team is just like unwatchable, like foul merchants, so physical, even though they have tons of NBA talent. I just don't get it. I'm sick of it. It's like the Seth Greenberg Virginia Tech teams that would just foul into submission and just blitz you on ball screens and try to run over you, and the amount of like physicality with Flagg. I'm just sick of it. And honestly, like, they don't deserve to be in the tournament because they can never step up when it matters. Second thought, I wanted to ask you guys a random question. Who has provided more entertainment value to ACC basketball fans? The British Tar Heel or the British Deacon, a.k.a. my man, the governor, Cam Hildreth? Looked like he had a cheeky pint before the game last night because he was throwing up air balls. So British Tar Heel versus British Deacon. Who you got? Thanks, guys.
British Tar Heel. That's a deep cut, ladies and gentlemen. I have not thought about British Tar Heel in quite some time. And I know that grift ran its course, and I don't know. I hope he's okay. I hope he's living his good life out in the UK.
I hate it for Steve Forbes.
Yeah,
I do.
Seth Greenberg really is the 1-for-1 comp right now. Although he's not as angsty and like accusatory is the way Seth Greenberg got at Virginia Tech for not making the NCAA tournament.
I also like Seth, but I hate that for Steve. I hate all of it for Steve.
I agree.
This group, though, is clearly broken. And I don't know if State broke them or if Florida State broke them. It was one of the two.
Well, they bounced back after the Florida State loss with a win over a decent SMU squad.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna dismiss the Florida State game. They bounced back.
You can have one of those.
It's the State game.
Yeah.
You can't. This State team with one single way to the ACC tournament, right? And has looked shell shocked in the openings of games this year.
And did lead them from start to finish.
That had to have broken them.
I hate it though for Steve in this sense too. Like this team, there are some parts. I don't know about NBA talent, but there's some parts on this team. I do like some parts on this team, but clearly with Hunter Salas and Cam Hildreth, they got rid of Boopie Miller last offseason. Andrew Carr ended up signing a pretty big deal at Kentucky. And I thought, okay, maybe they have a chance. Maybe they figured out how the end game works. I still do like Spillers. He has struggled in ACC play, though. So I just kind of look at it and I go, you're rooting for someone to have success, which we are.
Yeah.
In Steve Forbes and in Wake Forest.
Not just Steve Forbes, but specifically Wake Forest, because much like State last year, when State is good and the fans are engaged, the ACC is at its best when Wake Forest is also participating in these types of things. They got a motivated fan base, great crowd, all that kind of stuff. It's good when they're good.
You can also see it, though. They have these moments where they tease you. And then for whatever reason, the last few years down the stretch, now they were left out in 22 when they should have been in.
That's fair.
Period. Like we can argue about that one just like we do with State all the time about 19.
Sure.
Like they even more so than State in 19. They belonged in the tournament that year. Like I don't know any other way to put it. They destroyed a Carolina team that was in the national championship game on their home floor and got no credit for it. So I hate it for Wake. Last night was the rarest of games that I think I've ever seen. It was both a magic bullet game for Wake because it could have gotten them in still
easily,
and it was a pride game. At the same time, it was a pride game. Like Vegas is telling you, we're giving you 21 points. And you can sit here and say, oh, Joe, people don't pay attention to that. Bullshit. Every player on the floor knows the line. Every player on the floor knows the line in the game. And you are being disrespected by being a 21-point dog. And guess what? You got that shit packed in your ear last night.
Again with the
ear. There was no pride. There was not a single ounce of pride from that basketball team last night. And that's embarrassing. In the second half of the basketball game, that's embarrassing. Can't have that. That's on the coach. That is.
Two other quick notes. Duke, clearly the class of the ACC. Duke is...
Stop with the ACC, though. Duke's not ACC good. Duke's the best team in the country.
Well, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Are they better than Auburn?
Yeah.
I know they beat Auburn at home. You get the home bump and things like that. Duke is 27-3. Auburn is 27-2. We understand that the conferences are different in this regard. Although, if you really wanted to be galaxy brain about it, how good is the SEC when Auburn hasn't been got in the league? Okay, because even
the way that they took care of Kentucky on Saturday was very, very impressive.
Okay,
very impressive.
And where things get interesting for Auburn and their record right now, Duke is number 1 in Ken Pom by a considerable margin too, if you look at their metrics. But the one thing that would put up the red flag for Cooper Flagg and the crew is the strength of schedule. Straight up the strength of schedule.
Sure.
When you look at the Ken Pom ratings for strength of schedule, overall, Duke is 62, but Auburn is number 1. Okay.
And I would ask you what that matters in the tournament. I would just ask you that.
Well, this is what
again, we're back to the 0-sum game.
We get focused on
who's never done it? You know who's never done it?
Well,
Bruce Pearl.
Bruce Pearl's never done it.
You know who's never done it is Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
Who really
has some great teams.
By the way, to this day, Bruce Pearl, fuck you for 2019. Okay? Because I got to listen to Virginia fans for the rest of my life because of you.
You need to get over it. But what I think is interesting is when you look at
what part of me getting over Virginia in 2019 do you think will ever happen?
I was like, what did it do?
50, and I'm not getting over it, Joe.
It's like, what did they do to you? Like, what
it
personally
made me
did
have to listen to Virginia
You don't
fans.
have to.
But I do.
No, you don't.
But I do.
It's really easy. It's called mute. It's called block. It's not hard, dude.
No.
But what I find interesting is when you look into the non-conference strength of schedule, they're essentially the same. So it's, what do you value? Do you value how Duke has played in the earlier games against Kentucky and Kansas? Of course, you see where Kansas is right now, obviously, where the coach
Kentucky's right there too.
Kentucky's right there too. When you look at the non-conference, they're virtually the same. So what do you value at that point? Are you going to value how Duke handled business on a neutral court at Madison Square Garden against Illinois? Are you going to
still neutral?
Are you going to value that? Are you going to value what they did at the beginning of the season in close losses? Or are you going to see what Auburn's doing in their own conference, and that boosts their strength of schedule? We'll see. I don't know. That's the great unknown. I know I've been seeing it in the Instagram comments where Auburn fans found one of our clips about Duke, and they're very, very upset about this.
I think what Auburn's doing is awesome. Like I said, Saturday was incredibly impressive what they did.
Yeah.
The Final Four is in San Antonio. My last memory of San Antonio in the Final Four was there were 4 number 1 seeds there in 2008, which is the only time in history it's ever happened. I fully expect Duke and Auburn to be in San Antonio.
Yeah.
I don't think the other 2 ones will be there with them. And there's just too much upheaval in college basketball. But hey, man, I would love to see those 2 teams play again for the national championship.
One quick Destination Charlotte update. That's tomorrow at PNC Arena against Pitt for NC State. Yesterday, you called it the Crypt. It's going to be the Crypt at Lenovo Center. I went and looked at StubHub today to see what the get-in price for that game was. What do you think the get-in price is for the game? Get-in.
Is it $2?
It's $3. $3 for Upper Deck. I found lowers for 14.
So that's 34 with the
fees. I might snatch one of those, man.
Housekeeping.
Brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions. Guess what, Joe? I got the text. They're on the way.
They're on the way.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
As Joe mentioned earlier, we're going to be at Nature's Relief in Garner on Thursday, 2 o'clock for our Butcher's Market OG Live. Rate us. Leave a review. 5 stars only. Positive vibes only. Why would you do that for us? Well, because we do cool things for you. Throughout the month of March, 2024 was the year of the wolf, which means 2025 is the year of the hangover. Our friends at Base 6 put these shirts together. For $25, you can get the Drunk OG shirt in 2 different colors. You can get the heather red, or you can get the charcoal in the next level. For $25, appropriately enough, Joe. Appropriately enough. If you want to upgrade, if you're a snob like me and you love a Comfort Colors tee for $35.
I think it's $83.
It's $35.
Oh, okay.
But no, you're right. It was originally priced at $83.
Marked down.
We marked it down to $35. Limited time only through March. We got the Comfort Colors tee with the OG flag on the pocket and the Drunk OG on the back. By the way, thanks to one of our listeners who pointed this out. There was a typo for the 2X and the 3X. It's $2 extra for the 2X, $3 extra for the 3X. So I just wanted to put it out. There was a typo in there earlier. So thanks for the person who caught that. So there you go. Speaking of merch, big thanks to our friends at Roback. They've got the new triangle drops out in the wild right now. I believe the NC State drop happened today, right? So here is your Roback collection with the quarter zips, the hoodies, the polo with like the Stade and the bell tower and the wolf and all that kind of stuff. Those look slick. So go to roback.com today.
Both polos, the Carolina and the State polos. I love them both.
Well, you mentioned the Carolina polo. Our guy Ken already purchased the Carolina polo. It arrived.
I mean, it's just so good.
It's good stuff.
I mean, it really is.
So go to roback.com. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. Big thanks to our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. Attorneys and counselors at law. They can handle your small to medium-sized business. They can even do things like closings for your house or maybe even a refinance, which we'll get to in a second. And speaking of your home, you want to save money on home and auto. That's where Matt Davis at State Farm comes into play. Check them out online at insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call them directly at 919-779-8277. Matt Davis is so much about the community. He's got Canes tickets to give away, Joe. So how can we give those tickets away?
All right. So we have tickets for Friday the 14th and Friday the 28th. Here's how you win. Take a screen grab of the quote that you get or an email that you get from Matt Davis at State Farm. Send us that quote. You will be entered to win hockey tickets on the 14th and the 28th. 2 free tickets. And if you actually sign and make a deal with Matt, I'll throw in the parking. I'll buy the parking for you. Okay?
That works.
Total incentives there. So 2 free tickets. Show me that quote. And if you end up going with Matt, I'll buy your parking and send you the parking. It's giglio.joe@gmail.com.
Now we're speaking of homes, closings, things like that. Miller Lending they're a corporate champion. It was good to get Gordon in the studio yesterday. Go to Miller.
Did you feel like a little
Yeah,
nostalgic? Did you feel good?
Yeah, he texted me. He's like, "Yeah, that was fun." I go, "Yeah, remember when these things used to be fun?
We're supposed to have
Remember,
fun,
you're
right?
supposed to have fun doing this, Gordon. Maybe you
Not
don't
a
have
task.
Maybe you don't have fun other places.
Not a job.
But it's fun here. Yes, it's fun, as it is to make sure that you are getting what you need with the equity in your home. And look, things are a little bit different now, and you might have different reasons to refinance and use that equity in your home. And our friends at MillerLending.com can help you out. Go to MillerLending.com/VOG.
How about Gordon hitting all of them?
I know.
It's like, hey, maybe you have credit card debt. Maybe those credit cards are too high.
Yeah.
Hey,
And Joe's like, yes,
yes,
go on.
And?
So go to MillerLending.com/VOG, or you can just call them directly at 919-447-3377. But I suggest you go to the website because we got our own little landing page at MillerLending.com/VOG.
Did I show you the basket, the gift basket?
I did. You did not show me the gift basket.
Okay.
The gift basket's for real. You will get a gift basket from us.
The Raleigh Wine
And
Shop. Yeah, it's really, really nice. Like, but again, you got to say that you're from the OG.
Yes.
That's the rule here.
Or
So.
go directly to the website.
Yeah.
MillerLending.com/VOG.
I'll also point out, like, you know more about this stuff than I do. The no cost loan, like 8 and 4, the whole thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, it is a real thing.
It's
Look,
like, it's math.
everybody's
It's a
situation.
little bit above my head, even though I'm the math of the crew. But
Sometimes I think people get in a FOMO, they get caught up in a number and they're like, well, I heard I got such and such rate, blah, 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 blah. Rates change all the time. So if you look at the overall math over time, if you buy down a rate, it typically takes about 8 years to break even on buying down a rate. Typically, people do not keep their mortgages for longer than 4 on average,
Right.
even with the rates being high, because again, everybody's got a different reason to refinance.
right, because that's your investment. Your home is your investment. That's your equity. So you have to use it sometimes.
So go to MillerLending.com/VOG, NMLS number 250-2146. MillerLending.com/VOG. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from ESPN, ESPN.com, and the ACC Network, he is David Hale. Go Birds.
Go Birds, go Birds.
Go ACC. Do we have peace in our time? Is the war over?
Yes, war's over. Everything's great. Every problem has been fixed, which is great. I don't know what I'm going to do for the next 10 years or so, but yeah, I mean, who could argue with this? Look, it is. I will say, there was part of me yesterday that thought early in the day, like, maybe I'll be that guy who goes back and finds all of the Florida State fans who were commenting on my Twitter feed, calling me an idiot in 2023 and saying that Florida State would definitely be in the Big Ten by 2024. And I'll go back and retweet all of those just for spite.
Like old takes
And then
exposed? That's what you want to do?
By last night, those same people have completely turned the story around in that this just proved that the grant of rights meant nothing all along. The ACC caved. Florida State got exactly what they want. And all this is them getting a little more time to plan their exit to the Big Ten. So what I'm saying is that peace is in our time because Florida State won. The grand plan worked out perfectly.
Okay. So, for a little bit of context, at some point today, based on your reporting with Andrea Adelson and Pete Thamel over at ESPN.
Oh, was I supposed to tell you what I actually reported, or was I just supposed to sound like an asshole for a little while?
You understand this podcast.
No, you're good.
You're good.
Good.
You're a
All
friend of you're a friend of the podcast. You understand. Part of the
All right.
shit is we're assholes sometimes when it comes to this stuff. Because I think for you, for me, for Giglio, I think we're justified in how we've reacted to kind of stuff because this is a very complicated conversation. And if you try to reduce this to winners and losers, it really is. That's not what this is. I mean, yes, you can paint a scenario where Clemson and Florida State won.
I think everybody wins.
Well, we'll get to that. They won. Okay. Well, they won because they got their success initiatives. They got a redistribution of television fee, the television money. It goes to the teams with the highest ratings. Well, guess what? Florida State and Clemson tend to have higher ratings. They'll get more games against Notre Dame, which means more ratings. Okay, fine. You're going to get more money. You won. Cool. Whatever. It's the grant of rights part that I'm still confused by, or maybe not confused. It's more of a wait and see. Anybody declaring a winner with the grant of rights portion of the conversation, I think, is just kind of carrying water for whatever agenda they want to, including those Florida State fans who think they won in this situation. So I guess what I'm asking you based on the reporting is, what exactly is this grant of rights portion of the settlement looking like?
Yeah. That's, to me, still the big unanswered question that even folks who have been pretty blunt with me about everything else are either purposefully vague or just by default vague. I think what we've got is a scenario in which there were two issues that Florida State and Clemson were fighting with. Let's focus more on Clemson because I think they were more realistic in all of this from the beginning. One was the inherent disadvantage that was at play in terms of finances compared to the SEC and Big Ten. Now, the ratings initiative helps this a ton. If all goes well, like it did last year, where they make the playoff, they win the league, they're going to put a team in the NCAA tournament, and they're one of the highest rated teams in the ACC. Their number of their revenue number is going to be relatively close to what the SEC is getting. So one problem solved.
Yeah.
The other problem is what the future of college football looks like, and this was both an impetus for trying to get out of the ACC, or at least to test the grant of rights, but also a reason not to. And I say this for a couple of reasons. Yes, you want the flexibility when the TV contracts are up, the next round for the Big 12 and the Big 10, and then a little bit later on the SEC, to say, I want to go where the winds are blowing, because we all expect some inflection point in college football or college sports in general. But the flip side of that is, if it had cost you $500 million to leave the ACC so that you get that freedom, and then the whole thing kind of blows up and there are no conferences as we know them currently and the system is completely different, well, then what did you just spend that $500 million to do? 3 years of getting to play at a lesser value in the Big Ten or something like that? So this was this double-edged sword. So what I think this is not, and I cannot stress this enough, not a guarantee that Florida State and Clemson or Carolina or Miami or whoever else are out the door in 2030. This is giving them enough flexibility that as the dynamic of college sports changes, that they can change with it. And that's not just true for them. It is true for every school in the ACC. And frankly, what you have in the ACC is sort of this hybrid of where the Big 12 is and where the SEC Big 10 are, where in those two leagues, basically everybody, with maybe one or two exceptions, is trying to play football at the highest level and intends to stay doing that for as long as they can possibly do it, and someone will let them. In the Big 12, you have teams that care about football, but I'm not sure there's a brand there that really moves the needle. The ACC has got obvious brands in those schools that we just mentioned, some that are definitely probably not great fits in whatever the future of college football might look like. BC, Syracuse, Wake Forest, perhaps. And then a whole bunch of teams that are sort of straddling the fence. So I've heard ADs talk about, like, if we have super leagues, what's the number? And I've heard anything from, maybe it's 45 to maybe it's 60 to maybe it's 36, who knows? So wherever that number is, there's probably a half dozen teams in the ACC that are either just on one side of that line or just on the other side of that line. So the flexibility for them matters too. And then really the sort of takeaway in all of this is, if we all sort of understand that 2030 is this line of demarcation, then everybody at least has some stability for the next 5 to 6 years to get their ducks in a row for whatever it is that's going to look like. So yes, there is a door open, or more widely open, I guess I should say, for Florida State and Clemson, should they choose to leave 5-6 years from now. But they were always going to find a way out. It was just a matter of what the cost was going to be. And in the interim, there's tons of damage being done to the ACC, both from a narrative sense, from a brand sense, and then just from an on-field sense. So this gives everybody a runway to whatever the future is going to look like. And that future may include the ACC as it looks now, more or less, where you talk to the ESPN, you get a little more money coming in, whatever, who knows. Or the whole damn thing might be blowing up. We might have one Super League. We might have two Super Leagues. Yeah. We may have, two networks that have basically running like puppets the entire sport. Like anybody, I talked to one AD who was like, I used to try to plan what's 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the road look like. He's like, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of my time to think about. What I need is to figure out what is good for my school for the next year to 3 years, and I can do that with some certainty now.
That almost sounds like you're saying to me, David Hale, ESPN, joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Did you know you can get your car inspected at the Heister Automotive Group? That almost sounds to me like the person at ESPN who's a lot smarter than me just said college sports is a year to year proposition. Did it sound like that to you?
I'm going to ban that phrase.
Did it sound like that to you?
Yeah. It's wait, let me see if I can find another good phrase. It's the wild, wild west of everything. No, it's year to year. It's the wild, wild west. It frankly, it sort of is. And we don't know what the college football playoff is going to look like a year from now. We don't know what revenue share is going to look like a year from now. We don't know almost anything. Like it is the pace of change is rapid. And there's a lot of adjusting on the fly to all of this. And, one of the points that I made yesterday, that set aside football and brand value and whether the ACC sucks or is great or however you want to define it. Between now and 2030, we have a massive shift in higher education and the money that's going to be going in and out of that. We have a huge ongoing shift in media consumption. And I've talked to plenty of people who think, like, one of the reasons Florida State's been so adamant about all of this is they don't want to get passed by UCF and the Big 12. Well, I've talked to people who think Big 12 is going to get less next time around, not more.
Yeah.
And then you have politics, which if the last, literally 30-some days haven't shown you how much politics from one administration to the next can shift the landscape, you're not paying attention. And that's just national politics. Then start talking local and what it means for, the power players in the state of North Carolina to see the schools that have always played each other get split up. Like, there are so many things that can change that have absolutely nothing to do with football that will play a role in what college football looks like in 2030 and beyond.
Yeah, that's why I've never really understood this rearranging. I'll use another phrase that people love to use: rearranging of the deck chairs on the Titanic to date ourselves here, right? You're in this mad scramble to kind of win or get your way or whatever it is. But in 5 years, man, nobody knows what the hell this is all going to look like. And you mentioned ESPN. I mean, I don't want to take money off your plate, dude, but we're seeing how I know, right? We're seeing how they're being very judicious in how they spend money. F1 was this big up and coming property that everybody wanted to be a part of. Well, guess what ESPN's not doing? They're not going to be part of F1. Major League Baseball, they just broke up with Major League Baseball because they looked at Major League Baseball and saying, you're resetting your own market with these tech deals. All right, let's try to, do whatever. And then, as you mentioned with the Big 12, there are some really hard decisions being made about where they want to invest their money with these properties. And obviously the college football playoff is a big property for them, or more SEC conference games. That's a big property for them. So we don't really know how this is all going to shake out. And that also gets to the last piece of this business with the SEC, with Clemson and Florida State in particular, and them settling and them feeling as though maybe they won by getting some sort of different grant of rights potential exit strategy. Because again, we don't know the details of this grant of rights stuff. Where are they going to go? I guess is let's say things stay the same. Let's say that the SEC and the Big Ten stay the same. They don't really seem all that interested in divvying up the pie even more. And if they're going to do it, they're going to need more money from ESPN and Fox in order to make that work. And based on everything that we know about Florida State's saber rattling, Joe, you like to point out with the Big Ten, they took other schools at
reduced rates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State ain't taking a reduced rate.
Well, not to have to as to David's point, you can't spend $500 million to get out,
Right.
and then take a reduced rate.
So then it gets back to that central question. Where exactly are you going to go when there doesn't seem to be an appetite to get any bigger in the Big Ten and the SEC right now?
Well, and so this is exactly the point. People act like being in the ACC is this anchor around their neck. And I understand if you're a Florida State fan who lived through 2023 and what happened in the playoff. I get the jaded cynicism of it. You're not wrong in that. But that was the issue here is just simply what is best for you. So let's imagine a scenario in which they got out of the ACC scot-free. That's not happening, but imagine a scenario in which they did.
Yeah.
You're still going to another conference, making less than everyone else in that conference, and have a harder path to the playoff in that conference than you do in the ACC. So if with these success and brand initiatives, you can get money-wise close, if not at the level that the Big Ten or SEC is at. Especially now if we don't have like the slotted guaranteed playoff spots, which who knows, that's still up in the air.
Yeah.
But your path to the playoff in the ACC, if you're Clemson or Florida State, is clearly better. And go look at what's happening to Oklahoma or USC right now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more money in getting to the playoff. Like you're still in business with ESPN, which is and I've talked to plenty of people who have said, like, had the Big Ten SEC debate. The fact that you have not just your games on ESPN, that's sort of one thing. The fact that you have an entity that's built entirely around the network that broadcasts your games, that also helps promote you as a brand and a school and whatever. Like, all of these things have tremendous value. Not to mention your own TV network, which Andrea and I have a show on the ACC network. People should watch that. But like, all of these things have tremendous value that for some reason I think people just ignore as if it's nothing. And I've talked to folks at Florida State and Clemson who will say, it makes sense for us to stay in the ACC right now. It may well make sense for them to stay in the ACC in 2030, 2031, 2032. Who knows? Because we don't know what the landscape looks like. And you're right. Do I think they would have a home in the SEC or Big Ten if shit hits the fan? Yes. But how much are they going to get for that?
Yeah.
Because now you have a chance in the ACC to be making twice as much as your competition is. In the Big Ten, you might be making half as much as your competition is. Just do the math on that. It doesn't make sense.
Well, Joe and I were talking about this before we got recording. Whatever happened to the private equity money? Like, if you're Florida State and you have access to all this money, why would you leave the ACC if you're access to the college football playoff at this point? Which is, last time I checked, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, just pull an SMU. If you have money, if you have extra money, then use your extra money on you.
Yeah.
And more than ever before, that extra money matters because you could go buy actual players now. It's not about just building a nicer weight room. You can go buy actual players. There is a reason when you talk to people around college football and you ask them, like, who are the teams in this new era that can really take a big jump up? SMU is one of the teams that people mention. SMU ain't getting a dime of TV money from the ACC, but they still got a ton of cash to throw around.
And they have access to the playoff. I mean,
yeah,
all of this.
Look at SMU's recruiting class. It's the best one they've ever had, and it's because they're in the ACC.
All of this, to me, hinged on, I always wanted to see the data from Texas, Oklahoma, USC. That was always what I wanted to see. And look at Clemson this year. Clemson was ACC good this year. Well, would you rather be Clemson in the playoff with a chip in a chair, or would you rather be Ole Miss jerking off with Duke in the Gator Bowl?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty simple fucking answer if you think about it. I would rather have access to win the whole thing. I don't care how much money you have. I'd rather have a chance. Rather have a legitimate chance. And I can hear Florida State or Clemson saying, well, we don't have a legitimate chance because we don't have enough money. Okay, cool. Go be 7-6 somewhere else then. That never made any sense to me.
I think there's a little bit of this perception of, like, you are who your neighbors are. So do you want to be like the richest guy in a bad neighborhood or the poorest guy in a nice neighborhood? I'm not here to make or my argument would be like the lunch table in high school. Like, do you want to be the coolest guy at the band geek table, or do you want to be the guy that all the jocks pick on, but you get to sit at their table? Like, that's sort of where we're at in this Look, I'm not going to sit here, as you guys know, and expect Florida State fans to have a genuine appreciation of what their program can do. As far as they're concerned, coming off a 2-10 season, they'd still win the SEC this year. We can't have a legitimate conversation around that. But the bottom line is, like, there are 12 programs in the SEC right now whose fan bases expect them to make a run at the playoff when the season starts. There are realistically 5 in the ACC, and I'm not saying those expectations are realistic. I'm just saying realistically the fan bases expect it, whether it's real or not.
All right, David Hale, ESPN. Before we say goodbye, we still have the matter of the college football playoff, and I know that you were at the winter meetings recently. You and Andrea Adelson, you had talked to Jim Phillips, and should the ACC just simply accept the 2 automatic qualifiers right now? Like, is that the best deal you're going to get? I mean,
I think there has been so much pushback on the AQs that it would not surprise me if it doesn't come together now.
Okay.
That said, I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing for the ACC.
Because I get the principle. I get the principle of it, but I also understand the SEC and the Big Ten as we move forward. They don't need consensus to do what they want to do with the college football playoff. And it just feels like hey man, it's Bespin. You just showed up. There's Greg Sankey looking like Darth Vader and telling you, pray I don't alter the deal any further, right? Like, I just feel like the 2 automatic qualifiers for the ACC, given where things are, is actually not a bad thing.
If you look historically, this would probably, like, what they're asking for is basically what things would average out to. Now, in any given year, things would be different. But on average, that's where things would get. And I think there's plenty of years where the ACC, I mean, last year's a great example. We're lucky to get 2 teams in.
Right.
Having said that, I do think there is a cyclical nature to college football, even though it's probably less so than other sports. And so there are years that you probably would be screwing yourself that way. And there is something on the principle. But listen, if we're talking about principle, by the way, the ACC and Big 12 and Group of 5, to a lesser extent, have already said, we're taking less money from the playoff because we're not as good as you. So Once you've said that about the money, you've already admitted defeat here.
Yes. So just take the deal at this point, because I don't see it getting any better. David Hale.
If there's anything we've learned about the ACC this week, it's take the deal. Take the deal.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
No.
All
right, David, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you later.
See you guys.
We took a substantial hockey break yesterday.
Take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
So much so it's a little winded. I need a little pick me up, so I went and got the Almond Brothers. Ooh, the good stuff. Head on over to Happy and Hale locations in the Triangle. We got North Hills, we got North Raleigh. They got a pop-up location happening soon in Smoky Hollow in downtown Raleigh in April. In the meantime, download the app and use our promo code OG25.
Take a screen grab, email it to me, giglio.joe@gmail.com, and you could be entered to win the exclusive black card from Happy and Hale, which will get you for life. For life. The
Like
Caleb Love deal. It's called the Caleb Love deal. 20% off all of your in-store purchases in perpetuity.
I love that.
Download the app, OG25, screen grab, email it to me. You're entered.
Big thanks to Happy and Hale. They make it easy for you to make better decisions when it comes to your eating habits, as do our friends over at O2 Fitness Clubs. Check them out, o2fitnessclubs.com.
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
You know, we say they were more than just a gym. We've talked about Renew Physiotherapy. You've got Loop Nutrition, which they've partnered with Happy and Hale to help you make those great decisions when it comes to eating habits. But O2 Fitness also understands, hey, working out more, eating better. Sometimes when you get older, it can only do so much because your body changes over time. And that's why they've partnered with Thrive. O2 Fitness has partnered with Thrive. You can go to livethrive.co to find out more. Online, ask some questions, answer some questions. It's great telehealth, super, super easy. And there's 2 key things to keep in mind. If you're looking for oral testosterone, they've got that. Testosterone goes down as you get older as a guy. You don't have as much energy. Working out isn't the same, but this is a way to correct that. And of course, there's weight loss as well, weight loss solutions. And again, all you got to do is go online and get that process started. It's super easy, and it's a lot better than thems. So go to livethrive.co. You lose all that weight, you might need some new hoodies. Fine, cool. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Homefieldapparel.com is about to get into some wild third month madness as well. So use that promo code OG24 if you haven't. They got mystery boxes. They got school boxes. They got like Legends of March, all sorts of great stuff dropping all the time at Home Field Apparel. And all you got to do is use that promo code OG24 to save 15% off your order. And of course, our friends at Hometown Realty, you just bought a bunch of hoodies, sick Dale Earnhardt jackets, maybe a Hendrick Motorsports thing. You need a bigger closet to keep all this stuff. Well, Hometown Realty can help you out. Like, hey, I keep buying all this merch from the OG. What do I do? I'll get you a big walk-in closet to have all that stuff. MyHTR.com is the website you can buy and sell with confidence. Again, that's MyHTR.com. Lightning Round is brought to you by Sam Jones. Check them out. Sam Jones Barbecue in downtown Raleigh, Greenville as well. We mentioned the third month. We know there's going to be a lot of basketball on. You might need an office party catered for it. Maybe you just want to have a bunch of people over and enjoy some great barbecue. Or maybe you're just looking for a night out. Sam Jones is the place. So again, check them out in downtown Raleigh. We got an update to North Carolina, the 33rd NFL team, and NFL Hard Knocks on HBO. Turns out that NFL teams don't want to do it anymore. They haven't really wanted to do it in the last decade for a variety of reasons. Some people don't like the embarrassment. They don't like they don't have complete control. You saw what happened with the Giants last year. There's also, and something that Dimitri and I talked about on OG on Business, which is available today on ogtrianglemedia.com. Hard Knocks has been around since 2001. And you got to go back to when Hard Knocks was new and novel. Nobody else was doing this before. But now every team does it on their own. They have their, the Panthers have their own behind the scenes web series that you can check out on YouTube and on their website. If you're looking at it from a college perspective, you got the ACC network that'll do this stuff. ESPN will do this stuff. It's just, this is a dime a dozen at this point. Netflix has behind the scenes series for quarterbacks, wide receivers, F1, golf even, right? So what exactly is the value of Hard Knocks? Well, clearly HBO still has some level of prestige to it. And people will want to gravitate towards it. So there was this idea that maybe North Carolina could do it. Mike Lombardi was on with McAfee last week and dropped hints that they were in negotiations to do that. Well, we got an update. Our guy, Jonathan Jones at CBS Sports, dropped this morning. Headline, UNC Hard Knocks deal falls through. Tar Heels will not be featured in Bill Belichick's inaugural season. NFL Films was soliciting a college program for the first time. I don't think it was specific for a college program. Well, let me take that. Let me rephrase that. I don't think NFL Hard Knocks was just looking for a college program, any old college program. There was the intrigue of Bill Belichick, NFL legend, multi-Super Bowl winner, Hall of Famer, in college for the first time. How would that look? Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com, reported that there's a relationship between Belichick and the VP of NFL Films that made this a natural fit. But Florio pointed out that NFL owners, NFL personnel were not happy that Belichick, who's, for lack of a better term, has been motherfucking the NFL since he has not gotten a job, would suddenly get this prime real estate for NFL Hard Knocks.
So NFL Films is the one who puts together Hard Knocks.
Yes.
HBO is just the one
they carry it.
Who carries it, broadcasts it.
Yes.
So NFL Films is owned by
the NFL. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
So the NFL doesn't want to promote something that's not the NFL. That's a really strange concept.
I know.
Wow.
Now, I was told by somebody else that the Florio reporting was typical Florio having an axe to grind with Bill Belichick, and that really NFL people don't care about Bill Belichick. They're like, fine, do what you want to do. So according to Jonathan Jones's reporting, they had discussions. CBS reported last week all sides felt they were close on a deal, but the contract had not been struck. though the belief was they would eventually get there. Sources say creative control was at the center of the sides being unable to reach an agreement. Now, that sounds more plausible, does it not? A highly reclusive, very secretive, paranoid NFL coach doesn't want all this stuff put out on blast. That makes sense, right?
Wants to control what's put out. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So sources told CBS Sports there's still desire within the UNC football program to do some sort of all-access behind-the-scenes series with some media group. But one source questioned why UNC wouldn't want the prestige and reach of HBO and NFL films, the latter which was worked with Belichick for decades.
How many recruits do you think watch HBO? I mean, they might want to look at Sydney Sweeney's tits, but like, what else are we looking at on HBO at this point? Seriously. Like, how many people under the age of 50 do you think watch HBO?
I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Okay.
I guess you watched Euphoria?
Always be recruiting. A, B, C. Okay. Like that's what, like, only a 72-year-old would be like, you know, what's a really great way to get them recruits? Let's do Hard Knocks.
Topics stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
Like there's any other reason to watch it. That's fine. Go ahead.
You got me on the Sydney
Delude
Sweeney.
yourself.
No, you got no.
Go right ahead.
Sydney Sweeney's in on the bit. I mean,
go right ahead.
Did you see the Saturday Night Live that she was on?
No.
The whole episode, the whole night was just, hey, check these out.
And there's like a fake Sydney from Alabama who
you got me on that one.
Logan Paul fight.
You got me on that one. Just like I got by an NFL headline this morning that it's March, right? We're rounding into tournament time. We got NBA stuff. We got NHL stuff.
Respect the bracket, man.
But no. We have to talk about the NFL 24/7. So the headline that I saw today that I thought you would appreciate was, which team needs to win in November the most?
Which team needs to win in November
the most?
Which is not even the month where the playoffs are determined.
I know.
The most. Okay.
I thought that was kind of funny. I also thought you would appreciate this because the combine just wrapped up and I got fed this late and I thought it was hilarious. This is from the NFL. Jackson throwing darts.
How many likes? Give me the.
We got 1.4 thousand likes.
Nice.
Now I haven't refreshed this, so hold on a second. I think I saved this from yesterday. So let me pause it. Oh yeah, still up to 1.4 thousand likes on that one. Throwing darts.
See, his name is Jackson Dart.
See what we did there?
Clever word play.
See what we did there?
Did you see the guy from the poor bastard from Texas who turned his ankle in a false start in the 40-yard dash?
So the quarterback discourse is going to be, to me, I'm calling it right now. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, but I do feel like we're finally getting into draft mode and we're going to be going through the motions with these QBs. This QB class is not as strong as people want to make it out to be, but because we have to talk about quarterbacks nonstop, we're going to elevate this class into something that it's just not. And we're also not seeing a lot of crazy movement in free agency. Matt Stafford, we didn't talk about this a lot yesterday or mention it at all, but Matt Stafford staying with the Rams. Okay, cool. So that leaves you with the next man up. We got to break down Sam Darnold and what the Vikings are going to do with Sam Darnold. The Vikings are interested in keeping Sam Darnold. Why wouldn't you be? He was serviceable this upcoming season, but they don't want to franchise tag him, Joe.
Somebody was pumping up Daniel Jones to the Colts. I was the guy, Rich Eisen. Can you imagine Shane Steichen with Daniel Jones? And I'm sitting here thinking, if my life ever comes to this, please end it.
Yeah,
please.
So Russell Wilson is in this mix too, because remember, he is an unrestricted free agent.
I'm telling you, Russ needs to go to the Meadowlands where he won his Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He can talk every game before about winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I've won the Super Bowl in this building. I know what it takes.
And then, of course, we've got the Kirk Cousins conversation as well. Will the Atlanta Falcons finally move on? Will they cut bait with Kirk Cousins? Trade or release?
Who's got a bunch of money, so he's not really poor.
And, of course, who can resist the Aaron Rodgers watch? Where do you see how just arid the quarterback market is right now? I see tumbleweeds in the lands of the quarterback conversations. Just call it for what it is. It's weak right now. It's just weak, right down to the draft class. But people are trying to make this Sam Darnold thing a thing. Like, can you trust Sam Darnold? He's a serviceable quarterback. Let's not make him something that he's not, please. But that's the NFL discourse for the day.
There are many topics for lightning round today on OMG.
How do you feel about booing national anthems, Joe?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No.
This has apparently been a thing at Lenovo Center. We had a couple Canadian teams come through, and they do "Oh Canada," and apparently there's been some boos of the Canadian national anthem.
I was there on Saturday. I didn't
hear any
for the Edmonton.
Apparently there's some that were booing, right? And then you had the Four Nations tournament where people were fired up about the anthems and things like that. Pat McAfee, he's very fired up about booing national anthems.
Well, he was in Canada for the Elimination Chamber and kind of got into it with Canadian types.
He did. So on yesterday's Pat McAfee show, he said, I'm very proud and thankful that I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. Canadians have a lot of passion for their country, and I understand it. You booed our country, and I said you were terrible. Let's shake hands and move along. Apparently, booing the national anthem is something that Pat McAfee is ready to fight you over. Anytime I've ever heard somebody boo our national anthem, my natural reaction is, let's fight. That's my reaction.
Okay.
Cool.
But I don't like it.
Here's a pro tip.
I don't like it either way, though.
I don't like it either way either. But here's a pro tip, and I'm going to bang this drum all freaking day. Outside of international events, maybe let's not run the national anthem. What is the point? I get for an international competition. 4 Nations, you want to do the anthems? Salute, man. Olympics, clearly. But for a random ass Tuesday night at the Lenovo Center, why?
You ever want to see Peter Kochetkov? Just check out.
Gone. I mean, are we going to do the national anthem ahead of every podcast? Do we need to do that? Stand up and salute? It's superfluous at this point. It cheapens the national anthem.
Colleges don't even do it because when people started protesting, they're like, no, we're not
forget it. Forget it. So let's, I don't know. Let's like reassess the need to have a national anthem ahead of random ass sporting events in the regular season. You want to do it for the Super Bowl? You want to do it for the Stanley Cup? You want to do it for World Series, like a big event? Okay, I get it. It's the big international thing. But on a random ass Tuesday? Nah, man. We don't need that stuff. One other note about Pat McAfee. I thought this was interesting, and I think it's a difference in a generation. If I said you're a sellout, Joe, how would you take that?
As
Gen Xer.
Ooh, that's an insult.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
For like the longest time as a like fringe, born in 1979, that like late stage Gen X, Oregon Trail tweener generation, right? The term sellout is a insult. So for you or me to look at another media member and say, man, you sold out, that's like a F you. Okay. So Fred Toucher over in Boston decided to go after Pat McAfee.
Okay. This is a radio guy.
He's a radio guy for WEEI. And Toucher says he's not, this is from Awful Announcing, he's not losing sleep over McAfee's influence on sports media. Congratulations. You have his number, said Toucher. You paid Aaron Rodgers $1 million a year ago to go on YouTube, and that's why you have a show. Now let's address this. Fred, you're jealous of McAfee. Okay. Let's go through the people who are better than me and more successful than me at radio that I like. Howard Stern, Charlemagne the God, Mad Dog, Paul Feinbaum. I just named 4 people in the medium of audio radio that are better than me, and I've had 4 more success, and they're better than me. But McAfee, not so much. McAfee sucks. And if you listen to him, you're an idiot. You really might be an idiot. And this is the best. You don't get it. Oh, you don't get it. This is the key where he goes into the sellout mode. He works for Disney. This isn't some guy on pirate radio changing the way the game's played. I guess I get that he can say shit, and that's tremendous. It's very exciting. I could hear that from any kid, but I can hear it from Pat McAfee. Once you go work for Disney, any cool rebellious factor that you might be hanging on to is long gone. You're in the corporate game now. You are a peg in the cog, AKA you are a sellout. But here's where Toucher gets it wrong. McAfee's generation and younger generations, they want to sell out.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah. They're EMF, right? Like EMF, the band. You're unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like no one knows that's even a song. It's been in like 99 different commercials by this point.
Yes.
So it's like, cool, good work. You know,
you sold out.
Like, congratulations.
Sell out.
That's a good thing.
Great. AKA selling out to them is called securing the bag.
Mhm.
And the whole point for that generation and younger is to do exactly that. Secure the bag.
It's interesting to me. I've always found, I like McAfee, but I've always found him to be interesting in the sense that he's as good as the people that he talks to.
Yeah.
When he's just yucking
just
it up
him.
with his crew,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of that's a flavor to taste.
Mhm.
That's not for me.
Yeah.
Okay. But when he's talking to coaches and players and the people that he played with and
Mhm.
played against, that's fascinating to me. And that's where ESPN gave up the game.
Mhm.
Because back in the day, ESPN used to have real people on ESPN radio,
Yeah.
not Adam Schefter, not Adrian Wojnarowski, not people talking about their leagues, rather the coaches and players themselves. And I think the way Pat McAfee made his mark was not Aaron Rodgers. Yes, that was helpful because it was at a time when Aaron Rodgers wasn't talking to anyone else, but rather Nick Saban, the coaches, the players that he would talk to.
Yeah.
I remember one time he talked to Ben Roethlisberger when the Steelers were running hot. And, it was it was just an interesting conversation.
Sure.
And now Roethlisberger has his own podcast. You know what I mean? So
Well, everybody has a podcast
I
now.
think ESPN seeded an entire market based on trying to force feed their talking heads. Whereas what McAfee did when he started his show and was ultimately on DraftKings and got the money from DraftKings, I think what he did was basically old radio.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to the people. I'm interested in what people have to say
With no time.
and the
limits.
firsthand. Right. And that to me was what McAfee did to be successful. The guy in Boston, he's got his own
He's
success.
got his own thing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's
and all
fine, but
the
he
all
doesn't
the-
need to be.
All the formats are different. The only reason why I brought this up is that I can tell your age based on your ideas of selling out.
Yeah.
And the idea that calling somebody a sellout is an insult
Right.
no
Not-
longer applies. They wear it with a badge.
Also, I would suggest to this guy who's had success in radio, if you think it's that easy, go do your own thing and get the DraftKings money that Pat got.
Yeah.
I promise you can't do it.
Especially not now because that money's drying up. Another topic on OG on Business. One other media note to wrap up the lightning round. It finally happened. Jimmy Johnson retiring from Fox.
Yeah, I mean,
It was kind of weird at the Super Bowl. Did you watch the weird AI bit that they did with Jimmy Johnson?
yeah, listen, I'm not going to watch any NFL pregame shows ever.
Fair.
But when
fair.
I do turn them on and I see like 28 different people and all of them like way too old, I'm just kind of like, hey, you might want to like tighten up your crew
Maybe.
and get some new or different voices
Maybe.
in there. It's just a thought.
Yeah, it was so strange. I don't spend a lot of time watching the pregame stuff, but it just so happened that Super Bowl Sunday, I was still getting over the flu. And I was like, all right, let me just put this on while I'm doing some other stuff, have it for background noise. And they do this big like Jimmy Johnson tribute with AI generation. I'm like, it's just CGI, guys. Like, what's the big deal? It was very weird and creepy. And it was like, hey, Jimmy Johnson, this is your life. And they cut to Jimmy Johnson in real life on the desk with everybody else. And they were kind of like, okay, Jimmy, here's your cue. It's time to retire. And even Kurt Menefee was like, you got anything else to say? And Jimmy just goes, hey, man, one day at a time. One day at a time. So I don't know why he didn't decide to retire then when it was clearly set up for him. And on March 4th, we found out, yeah, no, he's actually retiring. But
For-
hey, man, hell of a career for Jimmy
Mad
Johnson.
respect for what Jimmy Johnson did
Nothing
both
but
at the U
Yes.
and with Dallas. But while I'm handing out retroactive fuck yous, hey, Jimmy Johnson, fuck you for leaving Jerry Jones in the 90s when you could have won 5 or 6 Super Bowls. And I wouldn't have to hear about Bill Belichick allegedly being the greatest coach of all time if you would have set a different standard, which you could have easily done by just telling Jerry, fine, whatever, Jerry, let's just keep winning Super Bowls.
It's a gorgeous day out today. You're going to golf. Why are you in such a mood?
Because sometimes you have to tell it like it is, Joe.
Are you a truth teller?
Sometimes.
Oh yeah. Why don't you get on Facebook and say,
Sometimes.
I just tell it like it is.
Sometimes, Joe.
You're gonna put your Oakleys on and drive off in a F-150?
Ooh, should I put my dog in there too?
Get your dog in there. Go to Heaster, by the way. And at the rate you're going, you're going to go to Breeze Through and get some Zinnies and Celsius. Because I tell it like it is, buddy. That's what I do. No, but seriously, go to Breeze Through because right now they are cooking. Adam's cooking with the deals all throughout March. You can get Zinnies on sale. You can get buy one, get one with Celsius. I mean, if that's not a perfect Tuesday afternoon, I don't know what is. Okay. But they also got great deals on Pepsi, Aquafina, all that kind of stuff. So head on over to Breeze Through. BreezeThrough.com is the website. Download the app so you can also save money on gas and take advantage.
What? They have gas at a gas station?
What? It's not just Zinnies and Celsius. What? Crazy. They got a beer cave too. So head out to Breeze Through. Go check them out. Also check out our friends at bugsbite.com, Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Yeah, spring is here. Everything's getting active. Things are blooming. These mosquitoes are going to be around the corner. So why don't you get that plan wrapped up and ready to go? So go to bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. You also want to be going outside tailgating for the hockey. You could be taking advantage of your deck, your grill. You want to go to the Butcher's Market. So go check them out, thebutchersmarkets.com. They got great prepared meals, I might add. It's not just about getting the right ingredients for what you're looking to do. Sometimes you just don't have time. So you can get a prepared meal from our friends at the Butcher's Market. And after you get that prepared meal, make your night even easier by going to Two Roosters. TwoRoosters.com is the website. You can find out their flavors. They change them every month. I had that peanut butter chocolate fluff over the weekend. Ridiculous.
The bananas Foster is French toast is honestly, I don't know how he does it. He really is he is a genius in real time. You're seeing someone at the top of their game.
Yes, Picasso.
Yeah. You're looking for the next Mike Krzyzewski, Dean Smith, Roy Williams.
Here it is.
It's Jared. It's Two Roosters. The man is just unreal.
Go to TwoRoosters.com.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
Got this from a 919.
Hey guys, listening to podcast today, 4 o'clock on a Monday. May have gotten into the Nature's Leaf THCA a little too early, but something that's been bothering me. 1-800-Plumber is the name in the number or the number in the name?
Deep thoughts for 1-800-Plumber.
Deep thoughts. Either way, just think about it. 1-800-Plumber.com for all your plumbing and heating and air needs. That's our friends.
The number
Hayes Lancaster
is in the name.
Yeah.
But the name is also the number. 1-800-Plumber plus air. Okay. Because they got your HVAC needs as well. So again, go check them out. 1-800-Plumber.com. I believe we have another combo hot and cold, ladies and gentlemen. I love the combo hot and cold.
We do, because as much as we celebrated the Four Nations, first we had Charlie McAvoy ended up in the hospital with an infection from a misused paint shot.
Whoops.
To play him through this tournament.
Whoops.
And now and Boston obviously is going nowhere. The Florida Panthers, do you think maybe potentially the Stanley Cup champions will have a say in the playoffs? Well, that say gets a lot better if Matthew Tkachuk is actually on the ice for the Florida Panthers. He will not be on the ice anytime soon, according to the Panthers general manager, Bill Zito. Yes, Tkachuk, they're hopeful with his groin injury that he will be back for a shot at a second consecutive Stanley Cup. But man, oh man! I mean, what's the price of poker?
This could just be This could just be another Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh, look at this! Look who just
leave him on ice.
Well, look who's on the roster. Oh, whoa!
That's
hey,
weird.
Look what we found on the couch cushions as we go on this playoff run. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. This is from Kyle on Twitter. The ACC is dead. As we get a little bit more details with the grant of rights. Although the settlement will not make substantive changes to the grant of rights, it is expected that there will be a declining financial penalty for schools that exit before 2036, with the steepest decrease coming after 2030. Something that would apply to any ACC school, not just Clemson and Florida State. The specific financial figures for schools to get released from the grant of rights were not readily available, but the total cost to exit the league after 2029, 2030 is expected to drop below $100 million. But here's the thing, and this is the important thing to say about whether the ACC is dead or not, and this is in the story. The current language would require any school exiting before 2036 to pay 3 times the operating budget, a figure that would be around $120 million, plus control of that team's media rights through the conclusion of the grant of rights. So unless I've seen something change with the grant of rights where we still own the money that you get through 2036, the penalty is whatever. The cost prohibitive portion of the grant of rights is that part, not the initial exit fee. It's owning your rights through 2036. But as we talked about with David Hale, and something that I agree with and I've been promoting, by the time we get to 2030, it might not matter because the college football playoff rights are up. The Big 10 is up. The Big 12 is up. It might just not matter. All right, let's go to the sports phone. This is from a 704.
This is going to be really quick. Whatever team NC State is playing in basketball, whatever their spread is, take it. It is so profitable. Take it. Bye.
Is that what you've been doing?
No, I don't bet on those games.
Is he right, though?
Well, yeah, I mean, because they beat Wake, and that's about it.
Okay.
And the rest of their lines are fairly manageable.
I'll be real, dude. I haven't opened up an app in ages. So I think the last time I legitimately opened up an app for that was in November when I got bored. All right. This is from a 252.
Okay, so guys, let me make sure I'm hearing this right. Don't tease me with this. Are you telling me that if State can find a way to win against Pitt on Wednesday night, the game against Miami could possibly be the return of the Les Robinson Invitational? Because that's what I'm hearing. It's for the Les Robinson Invitational. It's for Last Shot at Ice Cream. Shout out to Roosters. It's a big day. Also, shout out to corporate sponsors, Happy and Hells. Enjoyed some of that while watching the girls win the ACC championship regular season. Yes, I said won, not co-champion. Last time I checked, they beat Notre Dame and Reynolds. I was there. So anyway, thank y'all for the 25% off. It was very good. Got me through the game. But I'm here for it. Les Robinson Invitational. We need one more shot at ice cream. Let's go.
All right. So the way that this is shaping up, State plays Pitt at 7:00 on Wednesday.
Yeah.
The Stanford Notre Dame game is at 9 on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Now Stanford should beat Notre Dame. Should. Okay. That gets us to Saturday. If State can beat Pitt, which it's a law of the wolf game, we would have State Miami at noon. Unfortunately, we would not know the true outcome. So it's not truly a Les Robinson Invitational because the Notre Dame Cal game isn't until 4.
I gotcha.
So you can treat it like the Les Robinson Invitational because
you got to win it.
Because you still have to win.
You got to win it.
But you won't know your fate until 4 when Cal and Notre Dame play at 4. I do not expect Notre Dame to lose on Saturday.
Do you want to buy tickets for the game tomorrow? It's only $3.
I got to do hockey again on Thursday. That's a lot. Plus, I don't know if you know this, but you can get free tickets, free parking, and all those things, and you still can't get out of that building with less than $100. It's not really possible. By the time, I mean, if you see someone you know and you buy them a beer, you have a beer, then all of a sudden you're like, well, the Slave and Sunday, it is the best deal in the whole building. And then you get it, and then maybe there's a pretzel, and then maybe you know somebody in the Champions Club, then you try to get a free drink, and then one drink leads to more than.
This sounds like a you problem.
Oh, yeah.
Like you don't have to eat when you go there.
I understand that, but
you don't have to have a beer when you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, this team,
Also-
you need a beer.
So how are you scarfing down a pretzel after you've had a Slavin Sunday?
Can you do both? I don't know.
I almost feel like we should combine the two roosters and the 1-800-plumber.
Oh, they have a pretzel this month. They have a chocolate covered pretzel.
No, I know that. I know that. What I'm saying is, after a Slavin Sunday, I might need 1-800-plumber. Power through, crew, baby. Power through, crew. Anyway, so you're out for Wednesday. You don't want to go in on $3.
I cannot. Can't do it. Can't do it.
I might just do it.
You should.
I might wait till tomorrow.
Section 129.
They might be down to $1.
Fine. Section 129. Those are the better seats.
All right. I'll go check that out. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. We will see you all tomorrow.